We're gonna see. I'm checking on my it's not gonna pop up until I manually open it, but I wanted to see this shit first. No? Hello, hello?
Hello, hello.
It's not gonna pop up until
I can still hear you. I don't know
Okay,
if you're live
good,
though.
good. I had to check things before we went live over here. I wanted to make sure the audio and the video was good, based on whatever the fuck was going on earlier.
Fair enough. I have no idea what was going on.
Let's just hope that this fixes that. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. We're changing it. No one gives a fuck about this topic anymore. The dream is dead. We're gonna do... This is what we're gonna do this time. Plus, this will probably drag people in.
I need to look at the summary. What's the topic here we're talking about, bud?
What's up?
What's up, Rock?
Who we got coming in? Rock? Rock, you're just in time. I done screwed up that last one, but we're about to go live again. And this time we're going to be switching up the topic, because I feel like that dude was kind of weirdo.
We're going to be talking about which do you prefer. Or actually, I don't know if you're live. I'm not going to say that. Never mind.
Probably a safe bet. Okay, I'm officially moving this public, and this will be a fun one, boys. Okay, I'm gonna upload the thumbnail for you guys inside general chat here.
Ooh.
I just posted the thumbnail.
Where did you post said thumbnail? Oh! Hey. Lumos, for this video, I'm going to require you to be just slightly high.
You know what? Trying to decipher some things that Grant Morrison does, I think you just instinctively need to be sometimes. But let's see here. Find an R post.
Maybe that'll put you on the same brain level as him. You never know.
Maybe it'll put me in the same mental dimension that he's in, because that man lives outside of ours.
Okay. Outside of our comprehension.
Bro, that man is on a whole other universe. Okay. We're ditching
the map
this topic over here. Yeah, we're messing with the old map of the multiverse today.
Okay, that's
we're gonna have a little wander. We're gonna have a little time wandering around the map of the multiverse, because I feel like this is something. Someone asked me a question just before I left here, so I figured I would at least start digging into this shit. That, and I had a thumbnail made for this in the meantime, so fuck it. We're making it happen, boys. Oh, I gotta share this stream too to
yes. Yeah, so we don't.
People are gonna be so mad with how many pings I have had today. Holy shit. I am spam pinging. Third
You'll ping again?
Here,
let me ping. Let me ping.
We have to make sure to report you.
Report it.
Okay. Boom. Yo. So today, let's see. I'm gonna hide this so we have a little bit more of a view.
Baby.
There we go. And now maybe we'll bring things in here. Alright, so the map of the multiverse, man. You want to talk about some memes? We skipped past absolute power, but yo, after that wonderful shit show that was things last time, since we managed to dive off stream and collect ourselves back on, we've also picked up channel homie Rockin' Alice in the background. So welcome to the party. He's the guy who requested that last video that I actually did. So big dubs to him. And as usual, we have good old Gravity Titan with us as well.
Yo, yo, yo.
Yeah, that's what we need. We need more music in the background. There we go. I can't do this shit without music. I'm not gonna lie. The synthwave has got to be rolling in the background. Big shout outs to homie White Bat Audio. That guy always has the best shit.
I love using his sounds so much.
Let's see here.
That background with Snowflame.
Let's fucking go, boys. Alright, now we are rocking. So, hit us with the questions, people. The map of the multiverse is a pretty wild thing. It has all sorts of things that are really fun and interesting to actually dig into. And I feel like everybody has seen the map, but there's very few people who actually, like, engage with the map in ways other than "Dawg, look." So let's take some time and peruse through everything going on with the map of the multiverse. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, we got three major things here. Obviously we have the image in the center, and then we have the two different sets on each side here. All right, so the shifts on the right, you guys can't see it as well because I'm kind of somewhat blocking that, but this is all just like monitor bullshit. This is not the most important thing for us to like focus on. This shit over here on the right side. Mainly we're gonna be focusing on fucking everything on the map or in the descriptions over here. Okay, so let's start off with this action over here. Yo,
I'm looking at it.
so, oh fuck, that's right. I forgot. You guys aren't. I'll live stream for you guys too.
Yeah, I just pulled up the screen.
The damn live stream is so much further behind us.
Yeah.
But yo, so.
Oh, interesting thing before we start that. So, on the Outsiders comic, we actually see one of those monitor carrier ships that they have all the way on the right. That's what the main thing that's recently just re-popped up in DC. The one that says carrier.
Yeah, these dumb fucking things show up all the damn time.
Yeah. That's apparently reappeared.
Yeah,
Wow.
Monitor Tech just doesn't die, bro. That shit always sticks around. Like, that's just how Monitor Tech, like, be. And keep in mind, guys, questions down low, I'll answer, but we're only doing super chats for those questions. Right now, it's just the homies asking questions, unless you drop one yourself, boys. But first and foremost, the multiversal vibrational realms, okay? So starting off with the highest possible, we have the good old source wall, okay? The source wall is the limit to thought itself. Beyond lies only the monitor mind, the source, and the unknowable, okay? Now, if you take a second and look at that, it's actually reflected over here, right? Even though, weirdly enough, we kind of see one of the endless sitting off the side here, although that may just be
Destiny.
Yeah, it may just be creative liberties. We do see the overvoid on the outside of the map, but outside of the map we also see the source. Now, something interesting to note is the unknowable is nowhere to be seen. Okay? It is legitimately, there's nowhere on this map where the unknown is. So, if I was a guy trying to like piece together what's going on here, ooh, actually, hold up. I have to reach to kind of a really weird place for this one, I'll admit. And it's a bit of a stretch. Let's see if I can easily find this scan. Please
Wait
tell me
and
I have it
see.
here. Please tell me I have it here. God, I have so many scans for this. Jesus. No, I don't have the guidebook scan on hand. Fuck. Well, in the DC Book of Lists, it states that the unknowable is essentially the Great Darkness. Okay? And that makes sense, because it's literally unknowable. Nobody goes... I mean, the Overvoid, in context to most people, is considered unknowable. Unknowable in this context is to everything, like, within the multiverse 100%. We just don't know shit out there. Because it said Dr. Manhattan actually went out to the unknowable and was mind hacked. And then via the Justice League Incarnate number 4, we find out that he was mind hacked by the Great Darkness specifically. So it's kind of like one of those things where you put a variety of things kind of together to come to like a genuine conclusion there. But that's something else that I'm going to pop off on as time goes on. I've got a video I'm working on things that the map doesn't contain. And the map does not contain things that are outside of our multiverse. This is just the map of our multiverse. Everything outside of it is just seen as white, hence the Overvoid. So there is a lot of things out there we do not know, genuinely. At this point in time when this map was released, because I want to say it was like 2012, 2013, give or take. So the map is outdated, something to consider. So we have more things out there now, especially like hands and all sorts of shit, but we'll wait for that video as well. Continuing forward, however, we have the good old monitor sphere. And you want to talk about one of the most, like, argued about places ever? Ooh, hold up, super chat. Yo, does Franklin Richard have the potential to reach high out reversal? Fuck yeah, he does, dude. Franklin Richards is like low-key wild.
Mm-hmm.
Man is wild.
Like,
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. Franklin Richards is genuinely that guy. Like, I mean, I ain't gonna sit here and tell you he's the strongest dude who ever existed in the whole fucking like Marvel multiverse or anything, but the guy's definitely swinging hands. Like, I wouldn't deny that. Let's see what else we got. We got real fuzzy there for a minute, so that was a little worrisome, but it looks like we're coming back. Yo, what's up, Dragon Flasher? And for everybody else in chat, we're wandering through the map of the multiverse today. And while we wander that map of the multiverse, you're more than welcome to ask questions, but only the super chat's gonna be read out today, homies. But back to what we were saying, the monitor sphere. What are you guys' thoughts on the monitor sphere, huh? Anyone ready to have a conniption?
Reading it basically makes me believe that Grant Morrison basically took the thing with the Watchers from Marvel, but instead of watching individual races and planets,
Yeah.
they study universes.
True. I agree. The monitor sphere is like a structure. Is super contentious because if you read what we read here, it doesn't seem reflective of what we actually had in the comics. So let's read it. The dwelling place of the mighty monitor race, which technically was nil. Once countless in number, the 52 monitors that remained after the crisis event were each tasked with a preservation and study of a separate universe. The crisis event they're referring to here was the events of Infinite Crisis after Alexander Luthor created an infinite amount of worlds to which the monitors were sent to capture and maintain specifically. So the monitor sphere is this big old layer out here that's mainly blue. You can see the name of it right here. But what we want to focus on right here is nil, because that's we've only ever seen it take place specifically. We've only ever been in the monitor sphere specifically on nil. Now, that being said, it gets really confusing because in the one major story where we come across Nil is seen as out in the Overvoid, and people argue whether the source wall wasn't there and so the Overvoid crept in, or whether Nil was genuinely just something outside of the multiverse entirely, and then after the Superman fired the Miracle Machine that it came inside the multiverse. There's a variety of interpretations there that I think are at least worth acknowledging. But the monitor sphere is one of the most contentious places for that exact reason. Yo, what's up? We got another one dropping from Probably Sane. Yo, and Probably Sane's an OG member of the Corps. Big homie. So
Welcome.
Is there anyone significant from Nightmare? I can't think of anyone important from there. So you have Corinthian, who came from the Nightmare, correct? Well, I mean, technically Morpheus, but he governs over the dreaming and the nightmare simultaneously. So,
you have what else? Well, you have the Nightmare Stone, which is basically just the opposite of the Dream Stone. What else came from Nightmare?
like,
I don't think much.
A lot of shit just gets handled from Nightmare, and I'll admit I'm not the biggest Endless fan in the multiverse, so maybe I'm forgetting something. But like most of the time, Dream kind of has that shit on lock, because unlike a lot of people in the God Sphere, he overlooks two separate domains, which is why the original Morpheus was just so absurdly powerful. So when something, typically in the God Sphere, when a problem rises up that one specific sect can't deal with, like that's a problem for that entire area, right? But like that guy governs over two, so if there's a problem that rises up to one that even rivals that one structure, he has the power of an entire nether structure to also throw on top of that. So it makes it a lot harder, in my opinion, for problems to bubble up.
It also
go ahead.
Yeah, it also helps that like Dream is one of those people who actually does focus on doing his job as best he can. So normally a problem never gets to the point where it actually could be a threat to him.
To follow up on what you're saying, what I'll tell you is that when Grant Morrison made this map, there was a bunch of things he thought about, and opposites were something that were very foundational to how the multiverse works and functions specifically. And there has to be opposites. I don't think originally the Dreaming and the Nightmare were intended to be separate, but just for the sake of the multiverse in this map, honestly, I think they made them separate. But that's complete opinion. Okay, just keep that in mind.
Yeah, an interesting thing to go on what you just said. If you notice, right above Nightmare is Chaos, and right below Dreams are Order. Which actually makes sense, because Dreams are something like usually they're structured for the most part.
Yeah.
Like they're not chaotic, whereas Nightmares you could get anything.
Yeah, I definitely could see a give or take in that. And like I said, the dualities that exist inside things, the map is super reflective of that. You have the pit and then the pinnacle. Pinnacle is often referred to as high things, and obviously pit being structured as incredibly low things. On this side, you have more of the negative aspects of the multiverse. On this side, you have more of what we see as like the positive aspects. The entire map is just genuinely interesting. It is genuinely just a curious creation. Goddamn, I am still laggy on stream for some reason. I don't know what's going on with that, boys. Yeah, I think everything's still coming through. Positive aspects. The entire map is just genuinely interesting. Yeah, I am like crazy lagging for some reason. Hold up. Let's try this. Let's see what's going on here. Am I blowing up? I'm not even blowing up right now. My PC is crushing. What is happening? Why are we hitting the stream lag? Maybe I'm having internet problems. I don't know, man. But that shouldn't stop the show. The people demand answers, and they can hear me, so we're making that happen either way. So now that we're done getting distracted by the good old Nightmare over here. Yo, the Monitor Sphere with Nil and shit, it's still there even in the modern day. Nil still exists there. In the 2018 run they went, and Superman even remembered going there. In the unexpected run from 2021, I think, characters also went there. So it's not like it's something that's even been removed or anything along those lines. Speaking of the Source Wall too, we had evidence the Source Wall showed up recently as well. So the Source Wall isn't even removed from the cosmology either, which I think is really strange, really, really interesting stuff, in all honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The thing to go with like the monitors is that, as far as we know, most of them, they either exist in the city of Nil, or they sleep and function on their ships or their stations in the Bleed.
Well, like,
they don't actually like have planets so far.
The crazy part is depending on your interpretation, the monitors were either fractions of the Overvoid, or they were I can't even say or. Really, they're just fragments of Marnovu, and Marnovu is a fragment of the Overvoid, right? All things that came from the light, and they were just designed to monitor over all this shit. But all of them were just wiped away by the wish that Superman made upon the Miracle Machine. Like, they're all just gone now. And even the forms we saw inside the Bleed and stuff like that, those were just robotic constructs they made down in that area to send down there, because they can't fit. Like, they're just their concepts are too large of an existence for the things down on that level. But very true, they are not like traditional beings. They would not be considered traditional beings to the multiverse for sure. Kind of like the Brothers 3. They're not traditional beings amongst the multiverse because they are born from a higher structure, from a higher power itself. And hey, looks like the stream is back on lock. Let's fucking go.
That time, Superman killed an entire race of beings.
Yeah, Superman, imagine making a wish upon the ultimate wish-making machine, and you're like, I want the universe to work out. I want the whole multiverse to just work. And the only way that could work was the genocide of all of the monitors. Besides one, to be fair. He left one alive. What a good fucking guy, right? Like,
what a Chad.
And to be fair, he didn't necessarily mean to. Like, to be nice to Superman, that wasn't his intention.
Hold on,
but,
yes.
Like, that doesn't change the fact that the presence or I don't know, the Miracle Machine was like, yeah, fuck it, kill him.
Yeah. Well, like, I think they make a mention. You should know what you're asking for with the Miracle Machine. You shouldn't just make a wish with it. You got to know what the hell you're doing.
The problem was, at that point in time in Final Crisis, things were so desperate. I really do just think Superman, he was desperate and just said, fix the multiverse. Just fix the multiverse.
Damn.
You know, like, I don't know. But, like, see, you know what? I shit on Final Crisis a lot, but, like, I don't know, man. That's rough. Yeah, that's brutal. But let's continue on. So, basically, everybody talks about the source wall, right? We already hit up the source wall. And, like, the weebs from 2005, the Monitor Goon losers, they're just gonna sit around and jerk off about the Monitor Sphere, okay? And they'll make excuses for, like, the Monitor Sphere and shit. At least those are, like, the source wall everyone knows. The Monitor Sphere is a little bit weebier, for sure. Let's get into, like, the mega weebiest of fucking any of the structures, like, so far. Limbo.
Good old Limbo.
Bro, no one cares about Limbo. No one talks about Limbo, okay? So, what exactly is Limbo? Limbo is a weird-ass structure, because, as you see here, Limbo is weirdly in multiple places on the map. At the edge of every one of the major circles inside the Sphere of the Gods, the major realms that exist, Limbo is there. But why would Limbo be here exactly? Like, why would Limbo find itself specifically after those circles? Well, Limbo's like this ultimate shitty realm. That's the home of the lost and forgotten of everything that exists inside the Orrery of Worlds. And it's considered the furthest edge of, like, the actual DC universe. And keep in mind, universe here is used unironically in reference to the entire map. So even on the map of the multiverse, they use universe and multiverse synonymously. But this is where matter and memory break down. This is basically the end of everything, okay? Matter, memory, thought in general, concepts like that end at the end of the God Sphere. And the Limbo is essentially an extra realm to guarantee that will be the case before you reach governing dimensions like Nil. Or like the Monitor Sphere, which is literally designed to monitor everything underneath it. So basically, if you're like, if everyone forgot, your story will exist inside, like Limbo. And when I say forgot, I mean everyone in the multiverse forgot your story. That's how messed up of a place it is for you to go here.
Basically, it's the retirement home of DC.
Facts.
Real quick, I appreciate you having me on here, but I do have to head out.
Yeah, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for chilling.
Y'all have a good one. Adios, Lumos. Adios, Rock.
They don't.
Yeah, gravity.
So, Limbo is a real shitter, boys. Limbo is like a real shitter dimension. And to move past here is an incredibly hard thing, because as I said, that's where matter and memory start breaking down. And once it starts breaking down, bro, you just don't exist anymore. That's why making it up to these higher dimensions like Nil and stuff are incredibly hard, because for normal existences, beings who are not like fucking Justice League characters, they just die. They just break down to their most foundational levels trying to leave Limbo.
Yeah, I think actually we saw Limbo again in the Outsiders run.
Yeah, that did get brought up in the Outsiders recently. That run was fucking crazy, dude. They went everywhere. They didn't know what they were doing with that run. Like, they were just like, fuck it, let's just talk about stuff.
Yeah, let's not talk about the nightclub of monsters where people are just getting killed. All the heroes know about it.
Let's not talk about Bouncer Upside Down Man. Okay, let's not do it. Let's not do Upside Down Man like that. So, the next major realm we have here. The next major realm we have is the Sphere of Gods. It's this weirdo section or a segment in between like everything here. And there's all sorts of realms. The Sphere of Gods is like this massive realm that encompasses an infinite amount of other dimensions that exist there. And the only ones we see here are like the biggest of the most notable ones in existence. Because if you look really carefully, you can actually see other spheres that exist in between the major ones that we see. They're just harder to identify because some things in the Sphere of Gods are harder to get access to than others. Some realms aren't as powerful, some only have specific places that you can enter them. So, although you're only seeing these realms here, don't consider those the only realms inside the Sphere of God. There is a countless amount of them. And on top of that, even each one of these lesser realms contains an infinite amount of realms unto itself. And this specific realm, the Sphere of Gods, is essentially a realm that contains absolutely all forms of archetypal powers that exist. Archetypal powers, or primordial powers, or thought-based beings, be it gods or mental or astral, doesn't necessarily matter. The Sphere of Gods is what protects ideas, or contains ideas, or generalized ideas inside the lesser dimensions that exist much further below it. But this realm is one of the most explored inside all of DC, because a lot of the figures that the characters draw their powers from actually comes from realms inside the Sphere of Gods.
Yeah, like we even have what used to be one realm in there that got split into two. The first world got split in half, and you got the realms of New Genesis and Apocalypse.
And we'll get to each one of those goofy motherfuckers down the way. But first off, we kind of touched up upon this with the super chat from a homie earlier. And keep in mind, guys, if you want your questions answered, I know the stream's whiling a little bit, but we're going to keep this train going. So if you have a question, drop a super chat, man. Guaranteed to answer. We're already exploring the whole map of the multiverse here. So you might as well have your questions answered while we're here, man. This opportunity doesn't come up often. But the first realm, as we were talking about earlier, is the dream. And at this point in time, it's important to consider that it's at this point in time that Morpheus is actually the Dream King. But in the meantime, there is no there's no dream. There's a new dream who's a younger kid. What is that kid's name?
I think it's David Hall.
David, yeah, it was David. And he's just not that guy. He's like most of the superheroes who try to live up to, or like most of the gods that try to live up to the prior god whenever they took their position. He just ain't it, Chief. Like, he's just not that guy. I'm not gonna lie. There's no dream.
Yeah, he has all the memories and powers of the old dream, but he just never got his cool.
But inside the dreaming itself, we have all sorts of things, and it claims here it incorporates the Halls of the Endless. So that's interesting to me because it implies that he has a special relationship to either going to their realms or their realms are contained inside his. If memory serves right, they have separate realms entirely, so that would be kind of weird to see.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. The Courts of the Fairy, the 12 Houses of Gemworld, which Gemworld is a huge series that DC has followed for a very long time.
Yes.
Eclipso finds himself trapped there all the fucking time. So that's an important thing to point out. A home to Oberon, Titania, Amethyst, who is the main character of, pretty much Gemworld in general, and pretty much where everything Steven Universe got jacked from. Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, because they're all dreams made up by children that exist inside that specific realm. And it's easy to get lost in the dreaming. The dreaming is a conduit to anyone, anywhere. Some people even, like Amanda Waller in the most recent Suicide Squad comic, just uses the dreaming as a gateway to get into places you can't normally get into, because as long as someone is there and they are sleeping, then their mind is going to the dreaming, and thus they're a doorway to it. So the dream is wildly powerful and contains all sorts of figures made up by humanity, as well as actual like concepts and things that were designed by us as well, that can interact with us directly.
An interesting side effect of just like existing in the dreaming is that you don't really age as long as you're in there. There are people who literally just went to the dreaming and never returned. And you've met them on like in other comics where like Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, they both exist in the dreaming.
Yeah, if humanity has thought about it, it is. Now, as you'll notice, we're starting off in the more positive side of the God Sphere, and we're going to kind of rotate our way around the entire thing, okay? We'll come back to square one here in a minute, all right? But bear with us. So, up next we have Heaven, the Silver City. Keep in mind, a lot of people say that Silver City isn't in the multiverse. The map of the multiverse blatantly claims the Silver City is directly in heaven, or it's a dimension inside heaven. The Word of the Voice, home of the Spectre, even though he's not allowed to go there, so I don't know if I would say that. His original home, maybe, before he was cast out of heaven. Zariel and the Guardian Angel and the hosts of Pax Day. The Bull Host, the Eagle Host, the Lion Host, and the Host of Adam. Obviously, we've got all sorts of super awesome figures that are rolling up in heaven. In heaven, you have an infinite amount of dimensions that exist, each one for each soul, infinitely stacking upwards until you reach the pinnacle of understanding and like acknowledgement for like your soul. In Buddhist mythology, they have the idea of transcending until you reach nirvana. It's kind of similar the way it plays out inside heaven. And your soul is just forced to experience those existences until you reach that point, and very few have.
Yeah, it's also a concept like this is also it's how they describe basically the celestial realm or heaven in D&D, where it's like each layers to the mountain of the celestial realm is a form of enlightenment until you reach the top of the mountain. But some people make it, other people get stuck at other levels until they do.
Yeah, until they advance forward. It's like the ultimate video game. It's like the ultimate soul video game, bro. You gotta get good to move on. Otherwise, it sucks to suck, man. I don't know. But, obviously, the Silver City has a connection directly to the Presence himself. It's a pathway to him from the Silver City. It is not in the Silver City. That's something important to note as well whenever it comes to that action. But moving past there, we have the wonderful first half of the original world you referenced earlier. We have New Genesis. And New Genesis is the home of most of the new gods, or at least the new gods who aren't like absolute shitters in the biggest way possible, because some new gods really are. But you've got the floating city of Supertown. You've got all the classic new gods like Highfather, Orion, Light Ray, Big Barda, Scott Free, and they're just up there trying to do the best they can to figure out what the hell the Source wants and to appease the source in any way possible. That's like the main goal of those guys, with their main ops obviously being the negatively implied apocalypse that we'll get to later on. What you got on New Genesis, huh?
So for people who will be like, oh, it's just the floating city, note that like it is specifically noted, I forget exactly in what comic book, but like if you were to take a planet like Earth and you were to drop it onto a place like Apocalypse, which is the other half of New Genesis, you would cause a ripple in a lake. That's all you would do. That's how big Apocalypse and Supertown are. They're just, while they're called like a planet and a city, they're actually freaking huge.
Yeah, I think that the most that we can do, and this happens a lot because we're outside of concepts like space and time. Everything inside the God sphere is stated as beyond all concepts of space and time. So like we have to find ways to be able to understand beings like that in these stories, and that's just kind of how we got to do it. Because like is reference things that we can understand, right? Like a city to them wouldn't be a city to us because that concept to them is literally beyond what we understand. We just have to use a similar word to grant some level of believability there. But their entire like dimensions unto themselves, even if you look at them and see them as small figures or something tiny off in the distance, concepts like space and time don't exist here. Just because it looks small doesn't mean it is. And that's something that gets lost on a lot of people for sure, especially with the size of Apocalypse in New Genesis, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's also like wandering old weapons from the time of Urgrund that's like survived the cataclysm and just wander the actual planet of New Genesis. It's one of the reasons why the New Genesans live on Supertown, because there are like literal monsters created by the old gods that roam the land, and you also have the bug people.
And the bug people do be wild. But that's the thing, is a lot of those goons showed up from this world that came before, and that's from all these old gods way back in the day. And a lot of the old gods just entirely got wiped out. They killed themselves, Darkseid killed them, or they gave their power up to Euxis. Like, it just kind of depends on what was going on with them. Some of them did, though. And that's where we enter Skyland here. Okay, so New Genesis was over here. I missed Heaven and New Genesis. But we come to Skyland over here. Okay, now Skyland is essentially where all your traditional gods, like your Greek gods, your pantheons of gods based on like human faith and worship, especially like your more mythologically oriented gods and things, this is where you're going to find almost all of those pantheons. And I have to say almost all of those pantheons because there's a parallel to this bad boy later on, which we'll get into. But I would say like 75% of your more traditional godly pantheons find themselves in their own unique realms inside the Skyland domain specifically.
Yes. And like they're not like, it's a giant like that's that one big bubble that has a bunch of other bubbles inside of it. Like you normally don't walk from Skyland. Well, let's say the celestial bureaucracy for Asia. You don't walk from there to the Greek pantheon.
Yeah, it's like trying to walk to another, the only way we could comprehend something like that is like trying to walk to another universe. You can't walk an infinite distance. Most of them just have to literally teleport there because just moving there would be like a waste of time to the beings that exist. And you're right. Like Nightmare kind of looks down here. You can see where there's a bunch of smaller bubbles that exist within. All of these God Sphere realms are like that. And to maneuver in these realms, people typically don't maneuver through the Skyland. They just maneuver in the bubbles in the Skyland, if that makes sense.
Yeah. They'll find things like the closest approximation we have like fairy circles on Earth, where you can like walk into a fairy circle and then do certain things. You might end up in fairy, or you'll have to do a ritual, or the New Genesans actually get around this because they use boom tubes to actually get to other realms.
Yeah.
Instead of like actually traveling, because it's such a huge distance that like it's not feasible.
Yeah. Or trying to walk through like the entire sphere of gods, imagine. imagine the effort it would take just to be doing that stupid shit, if you even can. But moving past the good old Skylands where Zeus and the homies hang out, we're finally getting into the more negative-sided things, where we roll up on Nightmare. It even specifies here, kind of like what that first super chat said towards the beginning, like the creepy crawly side of Morpheus's domain. So they blatantly just say, yo, the Endless contains 2 of these bad boys. And the Goblin Market's here, it's the Boogie... Oh, that's how we should have said earlier, the Boogeyman, who's a consistent shitter, for sure. Everyone else here, Corinthian and the Boogeyman, I think are the only 2 that I would, like, actively recognize coming straight out of Nightmare. But it's just the other half of the fucking Endless, bro, of good old Dream, man. Pretty straightforward whenever it comes to that one. There's nothing... Out of all of them, I feel like this one is probably the least explored in fun ways. Now, this is where things are going to get a little bit weird, and I'm actually going to pull us out of order, because, like, there is... The Greek Pantheon. There is this weird, there's like this weird thing that goes on here between a few of these different places. So, Hell is the parallel to Heaven. It's right here on the far side of the screen. I'm sure you can see this bad boy. And Hell is a lot of different places, okay? It's not just the traditional Christian hell that you think of. It's not just the opposites. It's not just like a hell to the Japanese or the many different places that, like, the demons have all come across. Hell is a place where if you feel guilty, your soul goes when you die. It's not necessarily tied to any specific religion, although a lot of religions claim it to be that place. But that's actually not the case. Hell is something that just people experience, okay? Where whenever it comes to mythological hells and things along those lines, you're looking more towards something along the lines of the underworld, but we'll get to that in a minute. Hell itself is where beings like Neron, Belial, Trigon, Azazel, and all sorts of idiots roll up here. Fallen angels, most specifically, and haters of humanity. Beings who feed on the suffering and sin of others. Specifically, those are the people who wind up here, especially if they enjoy it. That's how a lot of these figures become demons in this specific hell. What you got to add? This man said, no, that's good, bro. You got it. This hell is the shadow of heaven. If heaven is destroyed, hell goes, and vice versa as well.
Yeah. An interesting thing about hell is that somewhere at the edge of it, there's a place called the Abyss. Now, depending on what area you're reading it in, the Abyss is supposed to be outside of creation. Now, obviously, it's kind of weird, because, like, we find out Etrigan's mother is a demon from there. Well, they don't do much exploring of it. But an actual interesting thing about, like, the Lucifer show that actually appeared a few years ago is that Lucifer in that show actually does a good way of describing what hell is. It's like, I have nothing to do with all of you people who end up in hell. I have nothing to do with that. I've never sent any of you there. Yeah. You did that yourself.
You did it because you feel guilty. Like, it just reminds me of that scene in Hazbin Hotel where he's like, yo, we gave these people free will, and look what they chose to do with it. I feel like it's one of those situations. It's like, bro, you came here. I didn't make you do shit. You think you're guilty. That's the worst part. But, yeah, hell, just like the other dimensions we've said here, has all sorts of dimensions that are located within it. There is a countless amount of hells for every soul who's ever died and felt guilty for something ever. It obviously it's meant to be a parallel to heaven, right? So they kind of parallel that same concept pretty well, but the goal down there is not to transcend you. The goal down there is to break you down into your most, like, core aspects and traits, which to them are things to be valued, like greed, gluttony, pain, suffering, and sin, for the most part, whenever it comes to the demons down there. Now, jumping over to the underworld.
This is the interesting one.
this is one where notice how like in the God Sphere you can have multiple things that replicate similar things, if that makes sense. And the underworld and the and hell are kind of similar to that. Hell you kind of go to inadvertently. The underworld is like the old god's domain for prison dimensions and hells and things along those lines. Here you'll find like Hades, the land of no return, the Phantom Zone, like the Phantom King, the being who represents the entire structure, and all sorts of figures. This is where like the Phantom Zone, which is a nightmare realm unto itself, having some of the best statements in terms of containing things inside of our multiverse, is just one realm in the pantheon that exists inside the underworld.
Yeah, and the underworld is so, unless you're Kryptonian and get sent there, you actually have to believe in the religion you follow to end up there. You don't just go there.
Yeah,
you usually have to follow
people
the religion.
don't go there under natural circumstances. Like, man, the Kryptonians were so fucked up. They said, "Yo, we're gonna boom to people into the hell for gods." Think about that, bro. Like that's looking messed up. Yo, crazy. But like, everything in here sucks. Hell is a place for your personal torture. The underworld is a place for the torture of gods. That's how I would phrase it, and try to draw like a definition between those realms. So like the nightmare is like the mental representation of shitty. Hell is like the soul representation of shitty. The underworld is like the god version of shitty. So what is Apocalypse exactly? Well, Apocalypse, as we said earlier, Apocalypse and the new gods kind of came from the old gods. Old gods being beings who were heavily tied to like faith and consciousness and things along those lines. The new gods represented similar aspects, just in a different way. They represented newer concepts like logic, knowledge, intellect, and philosophies. And Apocalypse represents kind of like the negative philosophies, the hell philosophies, if you will. And obviously Darkseid being the pinnacle of that is like the ultimate evil version of that. I would consider him like a lord of, or like a god of tyranny, because even on the map here, they don't call Darkseid a god specifically, but they do call his underlings gods who don't even scale anywhere near him, such as the torture god, Granny Good, or Desaad, or Granny Goodness, or the many other people who happen to wind up just existing there. And it's also interesting to note that even on the map of the multiverse, it is not called a planet. It is called a planetasm. Not the same thing as a planet, as we said earlier. Consider it very different. It is an entire dimension of suffering unto itself, traditionally brought on by logic or thought, motivated by the concepts of life, just the negative side.
Yeah, like it looks like a planet. It's shaped-ish like a planet, but it isn't actually a planet.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean it is.
Like it. Yeah. It's just a very convincing disguise.
Yeah. But yeah, Apocalypse is a real shitter, man. If I was to say which one of these places suck the most, definitely Hell. Everywhere sucks, but Hell, dude. Hell is a real shitter. One time Superman flew into Hell with Green Lantern, and he just saw Hell and was like, "Oh my god, I'm comprehending infinite suffering because I can see the entire realm." And like he just couldn't even understand, like that suffering harmed him. Like think about how messed up that is. Holy shit, dude. Low-key wild, if you ask me. Now, once we're finished up with the good old underworld, things kind of change a bit for our little map, wandering through the multiverse here. So we've gone through all the higher realms down, okay, down to this line that exists here. It's got lightning all around it. It's called the Speed Force Wall. So something important to note, that this is just called the Speed Force Wall. One of the biggest confusions I think people have whenever it comes to the reading this map specifically is that they think that the Speed Force Wall is the Speed Force, and it's not. It's definitely not. There's the Speed Force wall is just like the furthest layer that exists, that like normal matter reaches, and it's what we call like the speed of light. Now, speed of light, not the real world version of the speed of light, but the DC version of speed of light, because there's more structures inside DC that grant the speed of light much faster abilities. For example, in the real world, you just move through time by traveling the speed of light. Characters can move much faster than the real world speed of light inside of DC and not travel through time. The only way to travel through time in DC is to break this barrier right here at the end of the bleed. Okay? Now, this wall, to move here, is literally you're moving past the limits of matter. Anything moving past this spot is transformed into information, to give you an idea of how like insane of a barrier this is. And that'll become more and more relevant as the lower and lower and lower we get to things here. But let's specifically talk about Wonderworld. Wonderworld is this specific structure right here, right on the edge of the Speed Force wall. Now keep in mind, the line we're seeing here is actually the limit to the Orrery of Worlds. And that Orrery of Worlds is referenced right here. Now, that being said, the Speed Force wall is not the orange line, it's the electrical line that exists just past the orange line. Wonderworld exists on the orange line. Why would I say that's the end of the Orrery of Worlds? Well, because Wonderworld is stated as, according to this map here, an orbiting creation itself. And keep in mind, creation itself within the map's term, they're saying creation is only just the Orrery of Worlds. That feels kind of weird as context, but it is what it is. Orbiting creation itself at unimaginable velocities, so it's moving at unimaginable speeds, which is reinforced by the fact that the Speed Force wall is literally unimaginable speeds. Wonderworld is the world quarters of long-lost theocracy, a team of superheroes, stupendous primal superheroes. Okay, so that's where this bad boy is. And I guess maybe I'm mixing up Wonderworld with the question mark that is down here, okay? And I guess we also have Quiz, which is also stated to be that exact same thing over here. Did we talk about that? Yeah, Radio Universe.
No.
We haven't talked about it. It was just one of those things we had seen. Okay. There we go. This question mark here, you know, this eluded me for a long time, but I've got a theory as to what's going on here. Oh, I can move that around? That's so cool.
All right,
Okay.
hit me.
So, this, oh man, maybe I can't do that shit. So, this bad boy here has frustrated me for a long-ass time, because I'm not gonna lie, it's incredibly annoying. Whenever DC's entire history is rife with mystery. Okay? And the mystery of this has bothered me for a long time, until I came to the conclusion there's something that has been a pivotal thing throughout DC's history that is not stated anywhere on this map specifically. This has got to be the vanishing point. The vanishing point was stated outside of time and space, or at the, you know, depending on the comic, outside of all of time and space, or at the very limits of all time and space, and it has access to all points in time and space at the same time. That would be my theory on exactly what this bad boy is, because I feel like that everything sits in line with that, and it's even halfway through this line versus the Quiz, which is literally before the line. So to me, that feels pretty straightforward. If that was a dimension that was somewhere, the vanishing point was a dimension somewhere in the God Sphere, I wouldn't complain, but I don't, due to its interactions with time specifically, I don't feel like it should be. Because the only thing past this is like the Speed Force that really does. And the Speed Force should be everything, or should at least affect everything beyond the Speed Force wall and below it as well. It affects everything in the multiverse. So that should layer in, if you ask me. But then we get to the fun stuff. Oh, it's funny. We just completely skip over the bleed down here. Oh, no, it talks about it in the middle of this. Okay. Let's see here. So, the Orrery of Worlds. 52 brain universes. And keep in mind, the Orrery of Worlds with 52 brain universes is no longer the case. We've moved past that. These were just limited due to the monitors being idiots back in the day. And we'll discuss that a little bit more here in a minute. So, they're all in the same place, vibrating at different frequencies. Oh, hello. Hold up. We got another super chat coming in. Yo, who is more powerful, Oblivion or Molecule Man? I'm assuming you mean both Marvel iterations of the characters, man. I don't know, who you got, Rock? Who you swinging with?
For Marvel characters, if we're talking about base Molecule Man, then... Well, it's in the current Marvel, he's supposed to be equal with the Living Tribunal and Eternity. So he should be above the base Molecule Man. If you're talking about him during the Secret Wars event, it'd be the Molecule Man.
That's kind of what I was thinking. The Secret Wars Molecule Man was like, bro, he was on something. That man was on something, dude. I am not gonna deny that. He would probably take a big old dumpster. But I don't know. I haven't read a lot of Marvel content in the modern day. I know that there's been a huge upgrade for a lot of the Marvel abstracts, or maybe it was just an image change, but maybe that's changed. I don't know. I read a ton of Marvel up to 2015, so if it's changed past that, it is what it is. But the Orrery of Worlds. 52 brain universes vibrating in the same space, but at all different frequencies, within an all-enclosing bulk, otherwise known as bleed space. So this right here, this phrasing is literally how M-theory is described, or at least the basics of M-theory, that there were a bunch of vibrating universes at different frequencies that all exist in a large enclosing bulk, and we just so happen to call that bulk bleed space. I am super quiet comparatively. Is that what he's saying? Yo. Alright, fine. I'll turn myself up to be equal with Rock. So, the bleed space is essentially just the all-encompassing bulk to all the dimensions. Within the context of DC, how many dimensions exist inside each universe, I think, is like really... It's one of the most argued claims of all time. If you read, even in Grant shit, they talk about generalized M-theory mechanics and talking about how they move up through dimensions, transcending each time, and then once they hit 11, they didn't know what happened after that. So, via context through other things, we obviously have statements for infinite dimensions, 200,000 dimensions, countless dimensions. We've got like billions of fucking statements whenever it comes to things along those lines. So the bleed space, this space here, each one of these universes contains an infinite amount of spatial dimensions, and the last one that exists is the all-enclosing bulk, which is the bleed, the very thing that exists between them. Now, the Orrery of Worlds, depending on the person you talk to, because a lot of people will take this statement literally. They think the Orrery of Worlds is only described as, or is described as what follows, which includes bleed space and all of the worlds and the siphons that are included here, that the monitors drilled in back in the day to permit the harvest of the bleed, aka Ultra Menstruum, which, funnily enough, is named after period blood. Thank you, Grant Morrison. Thank you, Grant Morrison. Yep, that is a real Grant Morrison thing. I am not even kidding. So, those 4 siphons, those are these things right here. These structures that were drilled straight down, piercing through like the major conduits. And you can see that they go all the way to the very center of the bleed, all the way to the center of the House of Heroes. So, if you believe the Orrery of Worlds is all of that contained in one, that's just like a huge structure. That is like, there's so much you gotta talk about there. So traditionally, whenever I talk about the Orrery of Worlds, I tend to split things up into a bunch of different qualities. So I talk about the bleed separately because I feel like the bleed is the most important thing we can really discuss here. The bleed contains everything underneath the Speed Force wall. There are statements that it rotates to higher dimensions. I'll argue that those are spatial dimensions, but it is interesting to note that like some people will consider that the fifth dimension, something that's not featured on this map, I might point out, but is said to be the interconnected material between everything that exists on the map underneath the source wall. So it could just be that everything rotates into the fifth dimension. That's just how it goes because the fifth dimension is in between everything. Or you could really upscale bleed to being like crazy high tier, depending on how you choose to interpret that.
Well, if we take into account, like, the monitor ships tend to use the bleed to travel.
Yeah, and the monitors themselves just feed on the bleed. Like, that's just their power source. And not only for the technology, but for themselves. Which is why they drilled these big-ass holes in there to steal the bleed, right? So they could steal the multiversal period blood that Grant Morrison made.
What's with Morrison's obsession with blood and vampires, bro?
I don't fucking know. But that material is wildly jacked. In Morrison's original runs, it was something that was stated to never be capable of being brought outside of monitor hands anywhere. But then Cosmic Armor Superman and Superman just said, nah, I'm good, and just denied that. And the bleed's function and power level, I think, has been power crept by many of the other structures that existed kind of past that moment. But it is important to note that even in the modern day, there are certain, not the highest tier superheroes, but certain superheroes do have issues navigating it, especially if it's being damaged. And the bleed is a very violent place to be. There are creatures in the bleed that will harm you, and the energies of the bleed itself is just frying things. It just fries a lot of characters. And yes, for those wondering, it is the video is lagging. I'm not sure why, homies. I am not sure why. I know you guys can hear me perfectly, I'll argue that those are, but the video's just lagging for the time being. So bear with me, Taco Shop. I know it's annoying. Just enjoy the chat. Just enjoy the knowledge, I guess, for the time being. But that being said, the bleed is a very large structure. It's stated to be infinite, even to characters like Ion Kyle Rayner. It has unique properties that make it incredibly difficult to track people inside of the bleed. Monitors had problems tracking characters like Monarch and Superboy Prime inside the bleed as well. So that's some very interesting things to consider in the bleed. So each one of these worlds, as I said before, contains an infinite amount of dimensions stacking upwards with all sorts of beings inside each one of them. And each universe containing, like I said, their own separate set of those things as well. I stated before that the multiverse has not 52 in it anymore. It's literally infinite. Not just an infinite amount of worlds. There's an infinite amount of multiverses, and multiverses in that context are literally just like sets of 52 worlds that are all contained with one another, layers on layers on layers on layers on layers, at the end of death metal. And then even after that, during what was it, dark nights, or not dark nights, what the hell was the last one, Dark Crisis. We got even more worlds than that somehow. So like, the Orrery of Worlds is fucking massive. It is huge in terms of concepts.
Because you got like every individual universe that has like multiple timelines, an infinite amount of timelines in itself for that specific character. And then you have the various dimensions that are hooked up into that single universe.
Yeah, the bleed like, encompassing those universes and those universes individually. That's what I'm saying. To me, it's hard to try and combine both of them because it's just such a massive like topic. At one point in time, there was source walls that actually separated out these worlds, but those were removed due to the Miracle Machine. We no longer have those things, which is why the source wall is stated out here. But like, to give you an idea, that's how big this just section was. There was source walls in between each one of them, an infinite amount for infinite realities that occurred. Like, just how wild is that? And even though they locked 52 worlds here, They were kind of like locked behind a door that could be accessed by monitors and other really powerful superheroes. So even in the era where we had the 52 universes, we still had other universes out past this that you could mess with, let alone what we're dealing with in the modern day.
Yeah. Another interesting to note is that the period blood of the multiverse is also the source for stories. It's what powers stories.
That's what
and like if you take that into
Go ahead.
Yeah, if you take that into account, that means the bleed itself, it can power things all the way up to at least Limbo, you can safely argue.
Well, no, the monitors. They were
Yeah, the
beyond Limbo
monitors
and they were feeding on it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're just talking like in terms of technology.
Yeah. So like that's where like people's like, well, the bleed is below all this. Well, you gotta remember the bleed powers everything above it.
That's why a lot of people argue that the bleed is the fifth dimension. I don't buy into that argument, but I see why a lot of people believe. Oh, literally, Sonic, the Embodiment of Chaos just posted. I'm not even kidding. He typed it up just as I said it. The reason why I don't say the bleed is shown on the map is the equivalent of the fifth, because the sixth dimension would be below the source wall, but it above it. I don't understand that, but a lot of people do. A lot of people do specifically say that those two things are the same. I don't think that's the case because, like, although the bleed is powerful, nobody's ran into the bleed and ran into the fifth dimension there. Right? Like, whenever a speedster wants to go there, they don't like vibrate into the fifth dimension. Do they? Am I wrong on that? They typically take magical means to go to the fifth dimension, or via other means, technological means. At least that I remember. I'm sure there's a comic out there where it's possible it could happen.
Yeah, I think Lobo got in there by accident, so he doesn't really count.
And Lex sent him there with technology one time.
Yeah.
I know one of the younger Flashes, unironically, messes with some fifth dimensional imps, but I want to say that he just sent him back or trapped him in a comic book. Yeah, I don't think he went. I could be wrong. I'd have to do some more research on that. It's been a minute since I followed up on shit like that. But either way, I mean, I'd have to see more to convince me that the bleed is the fifth dimension. But some important things to note inside the bleed, outside of just generic worlds, and there's a lot of them, as we said earlier, like fucking infinite worlds. Each one of them have like special shit, as you'll see across here, indicative of whatever their world is designed on. Like here you see the hammer and sickle. Like clearly this is the fucking Soviet Superman universe. But in the very center of things, you have the House of Heroes, which is like this old monitor vessel from the original monitor Mar-Novu, and for some reason, it just chills in the bleed. It always has. And it gets blown up all the time, but people just somehow rebuild the technology that's impossible to rebuild. And it maintains itself. The reason why it's at the center is because it just kind of moves a lot. But direction inside the bleed. Direction inside of the bleed is the abstract.
Yeah. If we take what the monitor was previously doing, his job was basically... He stood on his ship, and he would watch all the worlds, and he would only interfere. Yeah, he'd monitor them, and he would only interfere if something that was happening wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah,
that's it. And that's basically what the House of Heroes does nowadays. They basically have the AI on the ship tell them, "Oh, hey, this thing's happening here. You guys need to go over here."
They basically just took the concept of Wonderworld and just moved it to the House of Heroes. Like, no one gives a fuck about Wonderworld. No one's talked about Wonderworld since this map came out, because there was an event that came out around this time that involved it.
Yeah. Another thing that's also in the same location as the House of Heroes is the Rock of Eternity. It's stabbed directly in... It is directly stated as stabbed into the center of creation.
Yeah, in all reality, the Rock of Eternity should be the thing at the very center, in my opinion.
Yes, and because...
I think that's kind of what's implied, because like the Rock of Eternity has like a very specific shape, and I think you're supposed to see both sides of it here. with the House of the Hero being in front of it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And the Rock of Eternity is basically where like all magic flows into existence, and when I say existence, I mean like the worlds from down below, because Guardians and the Wizard himself and everyone else has tried to limit magic as much as they possibly can due to how fucking destructive that shit is whenever idiots get their hands on it.
Yeah. People can't, unfortunately, people are too young to be trusted with having rocket launchers.
True.
They've proven themselves incapable of being trusted by having rocket launchers.
Yo, it's a scene from that Christmas movie, bro. You shoot your eye out, kid. Bro, it's so true with DC and fucking people trying to use magic.
Yeah. And from the Rock of Eternity, also in the House of Heroes, you can get to the rest of creation. Like, it's direct. They're both directly connected to everywhere else.
Yeah, they're pan-dimensional. Both of those structures can reach anything inside of space and time, regardless of when in time or where in the Orrery of Worlds, which is important to consider. You just don't enter the modern day. Like, characters could just freely time travel via that shit. It's fucking crazy. Now,
yeah,
all of these structures look super sexy, like I said earlier, and they're indicative of things that happened there and stuff, but all of them are pretty generic outside of two, specifically. Now, the two that we're going to discuss today, which I think are the most important in the entire multiverse, are the two, strangely enough, that are pointed to by the Rock of Eternity. I think there's actually a reason for this too. So, the Rock of Eternity points to Earth 0, and the Rock of Eternity points to Earth 33. If you know what those worlds are, you understand the significance of why they would. As I said earlier, everything flows into the multiverse, aka the Orrery of Worlds, when it comes to magic, via like the Rock of Eternity, or the Bleed, or like Bleed siphons, right? Well, stories, these worlds, some of them come from a different place that's not featured on this map, the Dark Multiverse, a realm that sits below this map, made by a guy named the World Forger. But the problem is the World Forger was killed by Barbados an unsaid amount of time ago. So we don't know which of these worlds were developed by him and which ones were not. So if that guy's entire purpose was developing all the worlds in the multiverse, well then why exactly do we have the worlds that we have now? Because after Crisis on Infinite Earths, all the worlds that happened before exploded due to the Anti-Monitor and only one remained. Maybe it was because Alexander Luthor created all of those worlds, right? But some of those worlds had even been blown up before. And they even had to go back to Earth 0 in order to recreate those worlds. That's because there is something special about Earth 0 and Earth 33. Everything in the multiverse comes from them. When I say that, I mean the other worlds. These other worlds are simply reflections of Earth 0, be it a different timeline, be it a different action that was taken, because every action that occurs on Earth 0 creates an alternative reality. And if they solidify and they become strong, then they become one of these alternative worlds. Earth 0 is the pinnacle of everything. And even in the modern content, such as Justice League Incarnate issue number 4, the Great Darkness itself, the guy whose entire purpose was to blow up everything in existence, looked to the superheroes of Earth 0 and said everyone else emanates out from them. They are the problem. So Earth 0 has a wildly significant role in delivering stories and other universes to the collection of the Orrery of Worlds. So what exactly does that make Earth 33? Earth 33 does the same thing, but in a far more meta-contextual way. Earth 33 is where... Oh, did we lose the stream? I think we lost the stream, boys.
Oh, we can't have lost the stream?
Shit. Let's try.
Yeah. An interesting thing. Damn.
Dude,
an interesting thing I wanted to point out is that I think the reason Earth of Eternity, the Golden Age hero Earth is Earth 1, right?
So, this is where things get confusing. And I have a video coming out here real soon
Yeah.
coming out here real soon on what the fuck is the current Superman.
Yes.
Because his origins are fucking confusing. Like, I'm not gonna deny that. So
No. I
what?
remember I pointed this out to you when we were going over like Green Lantern. Alan Scott apparently was Superman in the main timeline.
So like, when this map was made, Earth Zero is technically the collection of Earth 1 from the prior universe, Earth 2 from the prior universe, and a collection of 5 other universes that survived, all blended into one. This Earth 2 is the New 52 version, which is completely separate. It has its own identity, where all of the Trinity get killed at the beginning. Foundationally separate story.
Yes.
But the Golden Age heroes still exist here, which once again also is reinforced by the idea that those stories had to spread to the rest of the multiverse, and even Alexander Luthor had to go to them specifically and grab Earth 2 characters who had connections to the prior multiverse to bring those things back.
Yeah. The only thing is that main timeline, well, the current main timeline Superman does not get the experience, knowledge, and stuff of Golden Age Superman because he never gets used.
He never made it into that fused timeline because he went to the Paradise Dimension with Prime, Lois, and Alexander Luthor. You're correct.
Yeah, which means technically the original Superman has been dead ever since Prime beat him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which means
Crisis,
which means the original story of Superman was killed, and no one mentions it.
That's I actually disagree with you on that, as a matter of fact, because that was the whole point of that story, in my opinion. I understand what you're saying, but like Superman dying at the end of that comic, where he looks up and he finally gets it. God, I've got to finish this music video on that, bro. Where he looks up and he gets it. Things change. The story of Superman changed. I get it now. What Lois said. We'll always live on. Yeah. It's just in a different form. So I get what you're saying. You're right. The original story of Superman died. But to be fair, the original stories of all the characters have died. Like, genuinely. Yeah. Oh, hey, we got another super chat. Keep in mind, homies, if you are rolling up and you want your questions answered, bro, drop a super chat. Guaranteed to answer any question you have, if it's specifically on a super chat, man, because that's what's funding me. I need some help for this move, and y'all the homies, bro. I'm here to help you guys out for anything you could possibly want. So the question from Armel is, have you touched up on hyper time yet? And also, where do you scale Canon Superman? Oh, this man tried to go for a twofer. He tried to sneak in a second question over here. I'll tell you what, I'll do one of those questions, and actually, no, I'll answer both. Hyper time is not established on the map of the multiverse, so it will not be discussed today. And where do I scale Canon Superman in the modern day? Canon Superman is very clearly creation level. It scales not to the 6th dimension directly that I can think of, but somewhere in the 6th dimension. Could slap up World Forger, is stronger than characters who can beat around the anti-monitor, even with the anti-life equation. While nerfed, was fighting the ultimate versions of himself that the Bat Who Laughs made for him, with intent specifically to kill Superman in a nerfed state, and still did pretty well. Dude's a fucking goat, dude. We're looking at extraversal to low ball, high out, or like mid ball extraversal, in my opinion. Good question, though. Keep in mind, one question a super chat, boys. We making this happen, but I ain't having cheaters roll up. But back to what we were on earlier.
Correctly in.
Yo, let's continue forward. Yo, Earth 33. So on the flip side, we had Earth 0, where stories come from. The story of Superman makes all the stories happen, right? Well, kind of. Okay. On the flip side of that, we have Earth 33. For any of you guys who've seen my Flash video on that time that Flash traveled to the real world, Earth 33 is kind of a unique thing unto itself, okay? Earth 33 is the real world inside DC. The people here are the people from DC Comics who write the comics, and those comics also become universes that fill out the orrery. Or I guess they don't create the universes, they write the stories that occur inside the universes. That'd be like a better way to phrase it. people come from the universes themselves, come from the actions of Earth Zero characters, but those stories and how they're treated come from Earth 33 past that moment in time.
Yeah. Interesting thing is that any character from any of the other universes, if they end up in Earth 33, they can write their own comic books.
True. I mean, Darkseid did that with President Superman and Superman and Dr. Multiverse. There's a
So that is not an innate power to the people in the verse. It's just an innate power of that universe itself. You get it as soon as you walk in.
Yeah, it's crazy. It negs your hacks. Darkseid had to rely on using technology there because his powers were gone. This is okay. True form Darkseid could not function there. That's low-key wild. But why? Well, the explanation is that there's this thing that surrounds it. You can see it here unironically, called a fictional membrane. And this is one of the funniest memes that we always joke upon. But this fictional membrane literally means that fictional beings, unless they are god tier powerful, just cannot move past that barrier. Or if they do, they have no powers. They're just completely stripped of their power set. So everyone to Earth 33 is fictional in the Orrery of Worlds. Darkseid was seen as fictional to Earth 33, the Orrery of Worlds. Funnily enough, now that I'm thinking about it, even I want to say it was it was World Forger during that 2018 run. I want to say issue 21. He calls the Sphere of Gods fictions too. So maybe that's reflective of that.
Yeah. An interesting thing, as far as we know, the only power set that truly works on Earth 33 is the Speed Force.
Yeah.
As far as we've seen, it's the only power that works there.
And it's nerfed. Oh, okay. So technically Speed Force, yeah. And then if you believe at the end of Death Metal, Prime went back there. Oh no, just Prime in general. Yeah, Prime in general. Haley's Comet. I think it was Haley's Comet gave him those powers. So superpowers do exist there, but that might just be the story of Superman trolling. Not gonna lie.
I probably would go. It's probably a structure in like that universe where like the power of Prime works because he's a native to that world.
True.
Whereas like everybody else is foreign, so their powers don't work. And then something about the Speed Force just allows it to work there.
Yeah, I don't know. Crazy shit though. But that's like the whole map of the multiverse, boys. Yo, what questions you guys got? We literally just ran through the whole map of the multiverse. I might do this again later on during like a weekend where hopefully the fucking stream isn't tweaking the hell out. I don't know, the internet company must be wilding or some shit. But I still hear us, like we're still super hearable. Of Earth 1. Oh holy shit, that stream is 12 years behind us. Jesus. But yeah, I don't know. I wanna do something else like this and just give my takes bottom to top. My old cosmology video is good, and I plan on doing another cosmology video down the way just to give my updated takes. Be like, yo, how stupid was I like 2 years ago? I think that'll be like really funny to do.
Is there anything interesting like on the monitors for their ships? On that page?
Not really. It just says they're powered by baby universes. I think that's like it. Yeah, powered by caged baby universes. They're microscopic. They appear immense in the Orrery. There's feared vessels amongst them with guns. Some carry a lot of shit.
Wait, did the destroyer say it's self-evolving?
With self-evolving reality blitzing missiles, yeah. Those are the ones that rolled up at the end of Final Crisis that Mandrak had to like nuke it. I like how this is how you know this is dog shit. It literally says not to scale, and then it gives you a fucking scale. Like, how stupid is that? I mean, I guess it makes sense if it's not to scale, because that's just like what... Once again, we don't have a term for things that exist in higher dimensions in terms of size, so you just have to give something that makes sense.
So apparently universes can get infected with stuff. If you read the Destroyer, like used by monitors to disinfect fatally contaminated continuum. So it seems like timelines they get infected with stuff.
So
and they basically just wipe, they TVA the timeline.
So they had that shit in case they needed to. They didn't use that shit. They built this shit in reference to Final Crisis, the build up to Final Crisis, because that one dipshit monitor thought it would be best if they did start killing superheroes in like bad universes, right? That were just full of shitters. This, I wouldn't say this is like traditional monitor. Like everybody, like all the monitors have one of these or anything. I feel like these were things designed specifically for Final Crisis. Yeah, these hunter drones were used specifically too. Throughout the entire series to, yeah, the fucking megafauna indigenous to the orrery. They're fucking assholes, dude, those things. And this is the one we see most often.
Actually, that's the explorer ship is the exact one the House of Heroes uses.
Yeah, you can even see the baby universe inside it here in the center. Like from that bleed scan, from my from my bleed thumbnail. God, I've got to make that. But faster than thought engines, that's pretty dope. That confirms, well, I guess maybe not, because they could take that technically to anywhere. I was going to say faster than thought can travel inside the bleed. That's less than the speed of light still. But speed of thought here should be like speed of, I don't know, maybe they're using it colloquially for like humans. But if that's like speed of thought for like monitors, that's low-key fucking insane. Like we just jumped to insanity territory. But yeah, how about it, boys? Last chance. Me and Rocky gonna pop off unless somebody's got something else they want to say. Somebody else wants to drop a super chat to keep us here. I think next time I do this, I'll do like I think I'll start with a universe and work our way up. Yeah, I've got to give things a second to catch up. Because goddamn, the lag in between the stream and us is like wild. Yo, I've got 3 theories about the map I haven't shared today. I shared with you guys one about what is the mystery box. I might make a video on that too at some point. Fuck, that just drives me insane, man.
You notice they show like actual faces and stuff in between like spheres in the Fear of Gods?
Yeah, yeah.
So I wonder if like there are things like there are in Bleed Space, like things that live in between the spheres of the gods.
So, my argument since the dawn of time is that that's the 5th dimension. That's imagination. Like, look at all the things you're seeing there. It's all like really imaginative, fun stuff, crazy things. Imagination can get dark, but imagination can also be fun. That would also help explain the whole 5th dimension is in between everything, right?
That it would.
Yeah, the whole drill siphon thing, though. It is funny, though. Yo, that's something I actually noticed whenever I was preparing for this video, or for this stream. Where's my maps at? Something super interesting. Is
I
that
noticed that the
is
siphon looks like more vampire teeth.
yeah, I think that's definitely intentional. We've gotten different maps. Yes, Primus from Earth 33. We've gotten a bunch of different maps too as time has gone on. They've all been similar. But those siphons, they're not there anymore. Or maybe they are. Okay, I could see that one. Let's say they're not there on that one, but yeah, clearly it's there on that one. Kind of see it there. Let's say I wonder if those siphons were removed. They literally don't serve a purpose anymore.
I think like the scars might still be there, but like the actual siphons may have just like fallen to disrepair.
That's fair. Like Mixie literally pulls up the exact map we're talking about. So like I know for a fact that like they were there for at least the 2018 run. But the map of the multiverse, it would be really cool to see them give us a new map of the multiverse. Because like the newer ones they're like low effort. They're nowhere near the quality that we have now. And it's It's just not the same thing. Superboy Prime is from Earth Prime, and Earth 33 and Earth Prime are the same thing. Yes, that is true. Yeah, this is what I was talking about earlier, about how, like, the bleed has gotten unbearably jacked. See, the House of Heroes at its center, Earths are already where they exist again, but not beyond that. I don't think... Okay. That's how you do that. Okay, I got you. Not just Earths, whole multiverses, an infinite web of multiverses. It's becoming our own sort of omniverse. It's the first time we've had statements of infinite multiverses that have existed inside the Bleed 2. Crazy. And they even continue to say that for all them doubters out there who are just cast fans jerking themselves off. The fact is, it's all new and infinite frontier. All new. Wow. If it was returning to something in the past that they now have all their memories of, why would it be all new? Crazy. Who would have thought? Who would have thought, homies? Metron does not embody the Speed Force. That is just not true. Alright. Well, boys, I feel like our general walkthrough of the map of the multiverse is kind of concluding. Do you guys want just like a video of me doing this, like me giving my interpretations, just super basic, leading from bottom to top, no script or anything? Yeah, hit me up down low. Hit me in the comments and give us some W's in the comments for this hype as fuck stream, boys. We've been going hard. Rock and I have been sticking it out. Let me find that stupid shit. Hold up. Hold up. Where is it at?
That makes me wonder, should there be a, not so much tiering, but like a ranking for like civilizations in like the main universe?
Hold up. Could you say that again?
If there should be like a ranking for the civilizations in like the Prime universe?
I've thought about doing like a let's check out these universes kind of video. Like, let's just walk across these Earths, and I'm gonna tell you what it's like to be here. I think that's what I would. Oh, what the fuck? I clipped something.
Prime, it absolutely sucks because it currently has Amanda Waller.
Oh yeah. Let's see here. Lumos, could I explain my interpretation of space and time in the divine continuum, because the sphere of gods, which is above all time and space, contains perfect ideas and concepts? Oh god, the divine continuum shit. Oh god, this is cancer. Hold up.
That one statement that never pops up again.
Oh shit, no, this won't work. I have to literally put it in there, I'm pretty sure. Okay, let's talk about the old divine continuum. Let me explain. When you're referring to the omniverse, keep in mind omniverse within this context is post-death metal, so they're only talking about the multiverse as a whole here. When you're referring to the omniverse, you're referring to all of the space, but not the other half of existence. The omniverse has been formed, disrupted, transformed in a handful of locations, and afterward it destabilizes, including the metaverse, which is in our universe, and the one from which all multiverses were born. At its core, the omniverse and its multiverses are conceptual in nature, while hypertime is emotional in nature. Therefore, hypertime is never stagnant because it reacts and changes with us, perpetually growing and splintering off into an endless number of timelines. At every major personal crossroads choice is made, and at those times of great importance, that timeline can be split. When this happens, new timelines are born within hypertime, and unlike parallel Earths that come and go like a Tinder date, these alternative timelines exist forever. Okay, so the big counter debunk on this, here, let me roll back to make sure that good old Goku Goat is listening, because he's asked me multiple times about this. The only reason I'm